When people are being honest, because they're being honest, they will actually give you less detail. So if somebody's offering you too much detail without you asking for it, they're probably not being honest.
Yeah, interesting. Well, hey there, and welcome to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. I'm your host, Sam Hind, and I'm so excited to have you here with me today for a very special episode, part 1 of 3, all about scams. Now, this episode was actually recorded several months ago, and we haven't been able to release this recording because there were some legal proceedings in place around this one. And I have now, this is me re-recording the intro because I want to share with you some updates that we have since been made aware of since this episode was recorded. Now, at the time of the recording, I was uncertain, first of all, as to whether or not I had even been officially scammed. You'll hear me speaking in this episode where I talk about the scamming incident that inspired this series. And you'll hear the doubt in my own words as I was chatting with my very good friend, an incredible mentor and business coach, Mike Johnston, about our experiences. And throughout this episode, I also was unsure as to how much information I could give away. Well, we've now had a little bit more clarity around this. So what I will say is that there is now, it is our understanding that there is a legal proceeding around this particular scam matter. And we wanted to re-record the intro because we've also been made aware by the authorities that there are suspected to be a number of other people out there who may very well have been scammed by this same individual and are yet to come forward. So what I will say is that the person I am speaking about during this interview that scammed me identified as Tiffany Black or Tiffany Bentley. Now, this particular person who has identified as Tiffany Black or Tiffany Bentley is also currently going through legal proceedings. There are a number of charges that have been made against this particular person. And as I said, it is believed that there is possibly quite a lot of other people out there who are yet to come forward. So if you listen to this episode and you think to yourself, that sounds a little bit familiar to me, and I think possibly I have been scammed by this same person, or you know you've been scammed by this same person, then you can contact the Tweed Heads Police Station in Australia and report the incident with them to help them build this case. But I also just want to chat very, very quickly about who we are. If you are listening to this podcast for the very first time, welcome. It's so great to have you here. The Oxano team, my amazing husband, Greg, and I are very, very passionate about business owners and empowering people to grow their business through successful digital marketing, social media, and personal growth. So if that sounds a little bit like you, we would love for you to hit that subscribe button and continue to follow us. We have got over 200, coming up close now to 250 episodes, and we have got some more incredible guests and incredible episodes lined up for this year. So we'd love for you to join us on this journey as well. But all of that being said, I just want to speak into scams for a quick moment here. The reason I was inspired to share this was actually not because I wanted to get back at the person who scammed me. And you'll hear me speak about this during the episode, but more because I wanted to create a bit more awareness around scams and what it does to its victims. You know, since recording this, I have had multiple people who have also been scammed by the same person reach out to me personally and share their story. And each of those people started with a similar line, which was, I'm so stupid. I should have seen it. It's all my fault. And I just want to say, first of all, this is why a lot of scammers get away with what they get away with, because they're very, very good at making people feel like it's their fault. But the other thing I just want to point out to you is this: you are not alone. You know, if you haven't been scammed, well, good on you. But I think vast majority of us have been scammed in some way, shape, or form. The incredible Mike Johnston, who joins me for this episode, shares his personal experience with being scammed as well. And we had a really good giggle throughout. and I'm sure you will too. But I just want to say, I know it's a very serious subject, and the emotional toll it takes on people, and, again, the emotional toll that this scamming incident has taken on several of the people I've spoken to has been quite extensive. And I just want to say, sending you lots of love from me to you. I think it is a really tough thing to go through, and it is a violation. But also, guys, if we don't come forward and we don't share our experiences, then, we're not stopping it from happening to the next person. For those that might be listening to this, who possibly are those people who have been doing the wrong thing, I just want to remind you that you've got a choice to make, and you can turn it all around. Just because you never meet the person doesn't mean it's okay. You don't know what's going on in someone's world, and the impact that it has on not just that individual, but everybody connected with that individual can be really dramatic. So think twice before you go doing something like this to somebody else out there in the world. There is a ripple effect. And if you are the victim of a scam, just reminding you, it's not your fault. But I hope that throughout this series, we can shed a little bit more light on what are some of the things that you can do to protect yourself, what to look out for, what are some of the current common scams, etc. So with no further ado, I'm going to hand over now to the interview here with my incredible friend, amazing mentor, and incredible business coach, Mike Johnston. Sit back, grab a cup of tea or coffee, have a bit of a giggle along with us. But just remember, there are things that you can do to protect yourself. And at the end of the day, if you did get scammed, if you did fall into a trap, just ask yourself, what can I learn from this and how can I grow from this? And let's move on. So, handing over now to the interview. Thank you again so much for tuning in. Well, hey there, and welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. You know me, I'm Sam, but today I am joined by the amazing Mike Johnston. Thank you so much for coming in, Mike. It's so good to have
Hi.
you again today.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I'm actually looking forward to this one. This
Me
one's going to be
too.
fun.
And this was a little bit of an impromptu podcast episode. You've been on this podcast as a guest several times before, and so I'm super excited to have you back. But Mike, you and I were having a little chat the other day, and I was asking your advice on something because I got scammed again. And I'm embarrassed to admit it.
Again.
We're not going to talk about the others. We're just going to talk about this later, okay? I should have just said I got scammed and left it there. I got scammed again. I think all of us have been scammed in some way, shape, or form. And I thought I did everything right. And I got thinking about this after it happened. I'm going to tell the story in a minute, but I got thinking about it after it happened, and I was like, if this happens to the best of us, even when we know better, even when we know technology, even when we know how many of these scammers work, how does everyone feel about, for example, being online with their businesses? And I think it changes so much, but about both our own comfort with being online, it changes our trust in other people. But as you and I were talking about this, I said, I kind of want to out my scammer. Like, I feel this sense of justice. Like, this person needs to, like, I've accepted I've lost my money, but I'm like so mad that people do this to each other because it is not right. And I just wanted to fix it. And I was talking to you about it, and I was like, what can I do? How can I deal with this person? And you're like, well, let me tell you about the story that I've got. And I thought, we've got to talk about this. And this has actually turned into a 3-part series. And this is part 1. All from this scammer. So I guess we can thank her, possibly, if this helps all of you, because we're going to be talking over the next few podcast episodes about...
I think just knowing that you're not the only gullible person this has ever happened to is because you beat yourself up.
Did you just call me gullible?
No, but that's what I mean. I felt gullible. I felt like I'm an idiot.
Mm-hmm.
But and so you think like you're the only guy or the only girl that this ever, like, you're just like, how did I fall for this?
How did this happen to
But
me? Yeah. And
yeah,
if you're like me, like how did this happen again? Because you're sitting there going, I thought I did everything right, and yet here I am. You're like, can I just not trust people anymore? And I hate that thought. And that's what makes me so
I,
angry.
I went through because I am a people person, and I've gone through most of my life believing that 99.999% of people are really good, and it's like, and I remember that period of time where I questioned everybody, and I was like, this isn't even who I am. I feel like they stole my identity.
Yeah.
They scammed me and took who I was. Yeah.
Yeah. It takes
No,
me off
I
it.
know the feeling.
And the funny thing was, I was talking to you about this, and you actually said to me afterwards, you told me your story, which I'm excited for you to share with everyone. But you then said to me that, like, you talked about scamming being something that is about, like, can talk about lots of different types of people and different things. And you said that this is why you're in the business that you're in, is because you're sick of people scamming in a business sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's driven my personal career in the fact that, I want to make sure that I actually deliver on my promises. And, I think that comes from having been, I can think of one actual true, like you can look it up online, scam that happened to me. But I have been scammed at other times in my life. I just probably wouldn't call those people scammers. I'd call those people that didn't meet their promises with me. And yeah, I would say that was definitely a driver for me for sure.
Yeah. Well, look, Mike, I want to hear your story because I'm gonna tell mine. I don't know really in which order we should do this, and we're kind of just running off the fly today, which is how we do this
Okay.
podcast. So, why don't you share your story, because you actually had me in fits of laughter just quietly behind the scenes when you were sharing this last time, and you made me feel so much better. So, um,
Okay.
can you make everyone feel better now by sharing your crazy story
Yeah.
about how gullible you are?
Look, I was working in a company. I'd taken over the company, and I was just kind of feeling a bit useless, so to speak. Right? I needed to. I didn't feel like I was a real leader. Like I was in this leadership position, didn't feel like I was a real leader. And like what most people do, when you're feeling like, oh, I've got to go do this thing. I don't think I can do it. I don't think I'm the person. We procrastinate, right?
Uh-huh.
So one of my favorite ways to procrastinate is either go shopping or go get something to eat, right?
Yeah,
It's just
like
like,
me all
no,
over.
I'm just gonna
100%
go.
here.
I'm gonna go catch. Yeah,
I
I'm
don't have
gonna
any
go catch a
money, so I'm
coffee
going to
with a
go buy
friend.
something. That'll make me feel better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's just like, and it's like, it's more the procrastination. It's not even that I'm a shopping addict or anything. It's the procrastination of it. It helps me avoid this area of my life that I don't want to look
Can
at.
I just quickly
So,
share with you? This is a little secret. I don't want a lot of people to know, but now everyone's going to know this. I do that by online shopping and then deleting the cart at the end, because when I get to the cart, I see how much money I was going to spend. I'm like, heck no, I'm not checking out, but I've just wasted an hour essentially window shopping online.
yep,
Okay,
yep.
not just me.
Yep. No, not at all. Like very often I would go to because I didn't have the money, I would go to the shop and I would spend the whole day in my mind buying all kinds of crap and then still walk out with nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just this hollow way of avoiding.
Yeah.
And I always walked out with a feeling of like, oh, now I got to go do that thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Just wasted
yeah.
more time.
And so you got a picture, right? I drive into a parking lot. At the time, I was still fairly new to driving in Australia, so driving on the other side of the car. So I didn't like parallel parking between cars, and I didn't like being too, because I was like, depth, everything was off for me. Obviously, being North American, we're on the other side, right? So I used to park far away where there was more parking spots and less likely to crack the car or whatever. So anyway, you can imagine, I pull in, I pull into my parking spot, and I start to walk across the parking lot, right? I'm walking across the parking lot, and I can see this guy, and he's in a BMW, or I think it was BMW, right? He's got this nice BMW, he's got a suit on, and he's on the phone, and he looks frustrated, right? And he's very animated in the way he's going, and I see him and I'm paying attention to him because it's quite unusual, right? To see, is he fighting? Is it like, what's going on? So anyway, I start to look at him and he hangs up the phone and he gives me one of these. He looks over, he goes, almost like he wants me to be a part of it. Like, mate, you know what I've just gone through, right? And so I kind of look back at him, give him one of these, like, what do you say, right? It's like, yeah, it looks tough, buddy. And I'm walking up and he goes, you look like you're a business guy. I thought, and meanwhile, like I'm feeling like I'm not a business guy, right? This is why I'm procrastinating. So I'm like, oh, you noticed. I'm like, yes, I am. And he was like, you look like somebody that should be, wearing nothing but the best. You've got good fashion sense, I can tell. And I'm like, I do. Like, it's like, and I'm like, yeah. Look, and I'm hamming it up now for the story, but like at the time, right, very casually. Yeah, look, yeah, I can tell a good deal when I do. He goes, would you look at the stuff that I've got to now take back to Italy? I glance in, I look in, there's like a leather jacket there, and there's a suit. He goes, these Meyer stores here, they ask for the Armani stuff, they ask for the stuff, and they think we can just fly it over here. He goes, I had to hop on a flight, I had to bring all the stuff. And I get here, and the buyer isn't ready to take the gear. He goes, now I got to fly it all the way home. I got to put it into packaging. And he goes, it's going to cost me a bomb. And I'm like, sounds like a big problem. He goes, you know what? He goes, do you know? And he said, yeah. He goes, do you know what? He goes, you know what they sell this stuff for at Meyer? And I was like, oh yeah, hundreds. He goes, sometimes thousands. He goes, but you know what they buy it from me for? He goes, fraction of the cost. I'm like, well, I can see it. And he is setting me up, right? And I'm like, yeah, look, I can see it. He goes, and even though they're buying it at a fraction of the cost, they didn't want to buy it today. I got to take it back. And then he pauses and he does one of these. He goes, a thought just occurred to me. And I'm like, go on. He goes, my boss doesn't care if I sell it to you or if I sell it to Meyer. What if I gave you the Meyer price? I'm listening. He's like, look, what would you pay for all this stuff in here? And I was like, who knows, right? So I'm kind of like, I don't know. He goes, honestly, what would you pay? I go, I don't know. He goes, you know what an Armani suit's worth? And I was like, yeah, look, thousands. He goes, so there's easily $10,000 worth of stuff in here, isn't there? I'm like, yeah. He goes, what if I gave it to you for $3,000? I kind of smiled, right? I'm here procrastinating because I haven't got money and I'm avoiding doing this thing that's going to give me more money. Yeah, $3,000 is something I got. So I kind of smiled. I'm like, man, I haven't got $3,000. He goes, well, how much do you have? And I go, I don't know, like $400 or $500. And it's going to cost me a bomb to take this back to Italy. You know what? Let's just do it. At least I don't have to take it back. He goes, I'd pay more in shipping. So $500, I don't have to pay the shipping. Take it. You're a good guy, mate. You're a nice guy. You're a good looking guy. Why don't you just take it? Right? And I kind of went, all right. He goes, do you have the cash? I was like, no. He goes, I think I saw a bank machine when I came out. Do you want to walk up there and just grab it? Go up and take it the cash. But now, by the way, every internal system in my body is going alarm bells. But I feel like I've committed too much, right? Like, one of the things when you get scammed is they lock you into your word.
Yeah.
And my identity is whatever I say happens, right? Yeah. So I'm now locked in with this guy because I've made this commitment with him verbally.
Yeah.
I know I'm not legally committed, but I've made this commitment. And so even though my heart rate's racing, my head's just going like, get the log out. I'm like sitting there and I'm like, no, I got to do it because I've said I've got this money and I've said the value. And so I did it. I hand him the money and, he gives me all the gear. And I'm kind of like, okay. I didn't get scammed. I immediately stood just by. Like he had a BMW, he had a nice suit. You know what? I was just lucky. What it was is I was lucky. That could have been anybody coming through the parking lot, and it was me. Count your blessings. Thank God. Go and I grab all this gear. I kind of know it, right? I get home, just do a little Google search, and I'm like, and they literally describe.
Hang on, when you were telling me this story, you have to come back a step here because you said that at one point he put on you the leather jacket.
Yeah, he did. He actually put the leather jacket on me and goes, "Man, you look good." He goes, "How's that feel?" This was
while you were like, "Oh, I can't do this. I can't do this," and he's put the leather jacket on your back. He went that far.
He went, look, this guy is trained in sales, right? He knows that if you own it, like if you even feel like you've got ownership to it,
Yeah.
it's harder for you to let it
Yeah.
go. Like, and even then, right? Even with all the alarm bells, I didn't want him to take the jacket off,
Yeah.
right? Like it was like, I do look cool. And I'm going to come back to that because that's actually important to the friggin' story. Anyway, I go and I start just glancing and they start to describe the scam, but they like describe Mercedes Benz. I'm like, oh, okay, good. That wasn't me because he had a BMW.
It's
It
not
was
a
like,
Mercedes, it was a
they're just
BMW.
not
That is so
quite the
funny.
detail, right? Like it was like not quite the detail. So I was like, no, that definitely wasn't me then. And I'm like, so anyway, I'm wearing the leather jacket, right? And literally, it's raining one day, and I'm walking, and the sleeve just fell off, like bunched up at my elbow, and that's when I was like, "Freaking scammed!" Like, first time I really admitted, I'm like, "I got scammed.
I got
I
done.
totally got scammed." The leather just started to crack and fade and pull apart like one of those old pleather couches.
Yeah.
You know, the ones where you put the duct tape on like the whole couch.
Yes.
I was, that was my leather. My leather wasn't leather; it was pleather, and it was falling apart, and the sleeve fell off.
Yeah.
And
And this
yeah,
was
I won't
like,
even describe what happened to the suit. The suit was like wonky. It had one long
yeah.
sleeve, one short sleeve. It was, yeah, it was pretty bad.
So I feel like this is the old school version of a scam, right? Because we know scams have been happening for eons, and the thing that frustrates the heck out of me is the fact that we're in an industry, and when I say we, I mean like our listeners and myself, we like the direct selling industry is one that unfortunately gets the label of being a scamming industry. And I think that
So does my industry, by the way.
so does yours. Well, I mean, on that, and do you want to just speak into that for a moment? Because I think that's a really important point. I think we forget that so many industries get labeled with this.
Yeah, like any industry where you don't trust the industry, like even construction, which is a very traditional industry,
Yeah.
and people don't trust it. Why don't they trust it? Because they know there's scammers out there,
Yeah.
right? And coaching is one of those ones because it's just been such a flood of companies, people, individuals into the industry
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, and a lot of them are one trick ponies.
Yeah.
And so they promise you this thing over here and they got a single trick and then they perform the trick. And if it doesn't give you that result, it's like, well, I performed my trick.
Yeah.
Pay me my money and I'm out of here. And most of the people that have that wouldn't even call that a scam. And they have no idea what to look for because these people are nice. Just like the guy that put the leather jacket, he was a nice guy. You know, there was nothing sketchy about him other than how he made his living, right? Like he was nice, he was complimentary, you know. You would think that a scammer has, you know, like maybe like a devil's tail coming out the back, like you see it swinging in the background. But no, like everything about him, he showed, like his wallet. I remember his wallet vividly as he like pulled it open. It had money in it, and he had a picture of his wife or girlfriend, like in the.
Like he thought through
Oh,
every little tiny detail here, right?
Well, no, look, I reckon that really was his wife. Like it was like one of those. Like I reckon that's actually his wallet. You know, and he's
See,
a decent guy that makes his living in a different way.
this is the thing that frustrates me because I'm also battling with I don't know how much of what I got spun with my scam is actually real and how much isn't. So let's I want to share this story with you and feel free to like ask any questions here if I leave any holes because this I feel like everything happens for a reason, Mike. And I was so charged about this. Like I called you, I was like, you need to like talk me down off the ledge here because I'm it wasn't about the money. And I worked
from memory. You had Good Morning Australia on the line, ready to out this girl. From memory, I think.
So there's a thing with me that is justice, right? I need I'm very much about black and white, right and wrong. It's and justice, and I care about the underdog. Like I want to protect people, and I got so cross that that this person managed to fool me, therefore how many other people are they fooling? So I feel like most people wouldn't have gone to the lengths I went to.
It was totally just you, by the way. It was, I looked it up. It was just you.
Me, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. So you can rest assured it was just you.
Yeah.
You're the only person in the world this woman has ever got.
Yeah, 100%. Well, so here's what's happened, right? As many people know, like when I first met you, I was working with Mitch and Mills, who have also been on this podcast before, and I like Greg and I operate our finances using the wealth principles. We it's sort of barefoot investor like, so we've got our accounts, everything goes in those accounts you know what I mean.
Barefoot investor, but a little bit more exact.
A little bit more exact. But the point is that we've got money allocated every week, and we know, like tax time, we got our tax money, and wages time, we got our wages money, and so on and so forth. Everything is in its place. So
do you have a scammer's account?
No. I do now.
Because you said again. So I'm guessing maybe you've got an account specifically.
I'm going to set one up. I'm going to set one up.
Okay.
Because, so one of those accounts is Greg and I pay ourselves a little bit of personal money each week. And this is our money that is like guilt-free money to do whatever we want with. I don't have to explain it to him. I don't have to ask for permission. It's like I can do what I want. Now, I really wanted to get myself a Dyson Airwrap. And this is a really expensive hairdryer thing that my hairdresser has been trying to convince me to buy for ages. And when she told me how much this thing was, I nearly had a hernia. I was like, I can't. I'm not paying $800 for a glorified hairdryer. You got to be kidding me. So I thought, I'm going to save up. And then I'll really appreciate it, but I'm going to save up and get a secondhand one. I'm going to be really clever here, right? I'm not going to buy a new one. I'm going to buy a secondhand one. And I thought I'll get one locally because there've got to be lots of people that have, in the spur of the moment gone out and bought this really expensive thing and then never used it. So I thought, first things first, I'm going to borrow one from a friend, see if I like it, because I don't want to, go spend I'm going to check every box here. I'm going to get this right. So I borrowed it for a few days, loved it. Best thing ever, super quick and easy to use. And so I thought, okay, awesome. I like it. I want one. So now I'm going to, I've saved up the money in my little personal account. It's taken me a while to do it. Now I'm going to go and buy one secondhand. So I start looking on Facebook Marketplace. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Facebook Marketplace is the place to get scammed, but I knew how to not get scammed on Facebook Marketplace, or so I thought.
Clearly.
So I jump onto Marketplace. I'm like, right, the first thing to look out for is something being way too cheap. That is your first sign that it's a scam. Now, I will point out it wasn't me that got scammed last time. It was actually Greg, and he's not here to defend himself. So
I was going to say, let's just chuck Greg under the bus here.
We're going to go with that, okay? And it was actually a fridge. To be fair, we're kind of both in the process, but we didn't quite get scammed. We got nearly scammed because the common scam is that someone will they'll have this item that is too good to be true, like cheaper than everyone else because they want to get rid of it quickly. And that seems believable.
Can we just get everybody just pause and write that down? Too good to be true. I think that's a key lesson, a key distinction right there. Just write down.
Yeah.
What if something's too good to be true?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so the thing was, I already knew that, and it still got me. So write it down anyway, guys, and keep listening because maybe we'll give you a few insights into where we went wrong here. So the fridge situation was, and this is the common catch. Too good to be true price. Then you go, okay, well, if it's not local, that's also something to watch out for. But the fridge was local. So we're like, great, it's only next suburb over. Well, what they do is they find an address that is somewhat local, but they don't give it to you. They tell you the suburb, but don't tell you the actual address until you pay a deposit to hold it. Then they give you the address. And when you get to the address, that person's not there, or no one's there. And what they've done is they've just kept the deposit. So here I am going, okay, so we learned from the fridge situation that that's how they roll. So the first thing is I won't pay a deposit until I've seen the item, okay? Mm-hmm. And I'm going to get one that's not a too good to be true price, but is a good deal. So I found one that was a good deal, but not what I would have considered to be a too good to be true price. So it was like $50 cheaper than almost all the other listings. And I was like, it's enough that maybe she just doesn't realize that she's got, she could have made an extra $50, but not enough that I thought she was having me on. So next thing was she wasn't local. I was like, oh, that's a little bit of a, okay, I know how I'm going to get around this. I'm going to contact her and ask her, can she video call me so I can see the item, then I know she's got it. She responds back straight away and she goes, hey, hon, yeah, absolutely. And I was like, okay, cool. She's friendly. She says that and at this point she tells me, I'm traveling around Australia, so I will, for work, so I'll be able to send it to you when you send me the money. She said, I will video call you later on today and I'll show you the item. And I was like, okay, cool, no worries. Mind you, this entire time that I'm in conversation with her, I had alarm bells going off because it was too good to be true. It didn't make sense. She was going to send it for free. Post was going to be free because she just wanted to move it on.
Yeah.
And when I asked her, because I thought I was asking all the right questions, why are you getting rid of it, may I ask? And she said, because my husband is really mad at me because I spent the money and I don't use it all that much. At this point, she throws the C-bomb out there. And by C-bomb, I mean cancer. She says to me, I have throat cancer. And so I don't worry about my hair anymore. I just kind of, I got other stuff going on. My husband is still mad at me for spending all that money, so I'm selling it. So, of course, instantly I'm thinking, oh, the poor thing. Oh, and I'm thinking I won't ask too many more questions about anything. I'll just pay her and. But I thought, no, I still want to do the video call. So I write to her and say, look, I've been scammed before. I really want to do the video call with you because I really want to make sure that you've got the item. I said, I'm sure that it's fine. I'm sure you're trustworthy, but I just want to see it. She goes, I totally understand. She goes, I work for a bank, so I 100% see this sort of thing all the time. No worries. Anyway, time comes around and she doesn't call. I was like, oh, see, scammer. The phone number she gave me it was disconnected, didn't work. So then I said to her, look, why don't we try a video call through Messenger? To which she acts like she has no idea how Messenger worked. Now, I should point out, this person is my age. So I am thinking, how does someone my age not know how to use Messenger? Anyway, finally, she does video call me. And she's in what appears to be a hotel bathroom. And she is showing me the item. She's like really frantically showing it to me. And her voice, she can't speak because of the throat cancer. So no, like all husky and all weird, no voice. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. She had throat cancer. And the kids are in the car with me listening to this whole thing going, why is she talking so weird? And I was like, shh, don't say anything. She's got throat cancer.
Yeah. We don't want to offend the scammer.
We don't want to offend the scammer, right? So I'm thinking, oh, I don't want to like ask her too many questions. I'm just, So she quickly shows it to me. I'm like, great, no worries. Thank you. I will send you the money. She gives me her bank account and I send the money. And half an hour later, I noticed. So by the way, she says, oh, I can't send it today. My husband will send it tomorrow. So half an hour later, I notice the messenger chat is now you can see, and I screenshot everything through this process, but the messenger chat now disappears to show that she is no longer available at all. She's gone. She's blocked me out of Messenger. And I'm like, oh no, here we go. And so I go home like, Greg, I cannot, like, I am so cross because I dotted the I's, I crossed the T's. But the stupid thing about it was Greg says to me, Sam, you told me your alarm bells were going off. I went, yep. And he goes, when are you going to learn to listen to your gut? You knew this was a scam, but you were justifying it the whole way through and you didn't want to believe it, just like what you were like. Anyway, next day, she's completely not just blocked me off Facebook, her profile's gone. So she's deleted her profile entirely. Now, what she got wrong was she actually used her real identity in her profile, and she provided me with a photograph of the receipt of her buying the product that actually showed her actual email address and actual phone number. So I email her and text her at the same time. And I tell her I'm going to be doing this podcast episode. If she doesn't either send the product I've bought or just refund the money, and we'll just go away quietly. And I made her promise to never do this again to anyone else, because, of course, that for me is the thing that's bugging me the most about this whole situation.
Yeah.
To which she writes back and says, oh, my gosh, I can't believe that you would try and profit from someone else's downfall. She goes, just like, I've got cancer, and off she went with this. And then she says, I guarantee you it will arrive by the end of the week. I was like, okay. Now, I will point out, this was like, I don't know, 6 weeks ago now.
I was going to say it's a while, because it had been 2 weeks when we talked about it.
Yeah, it hasn't arrived.
Yeah.
What's more is I did a bit of digging, and I discovered that this person had also done the effectively a GoFundMe fundraiser to raise money for her cancer when she got diagnosed a couple of years ago. Now I'm going, hang on a minute. If you got cancer, so she did the GoFundMe in the UK for her cancer treatment in Australia, saying she needed life-saving surgery in Australia, and if she didn't get it, that she was going to die. And so she does this big fundraiser and raises like $40,000, but she doesn't advertise it anywhere in Australia. Why? Because in Australia, there's a healthcare system that would not give you the surgery you need to save your life. But in the UK, they don't know this. So, of course, this person is taking like oodles of people for a ride. And I'm thinking, I'm just so mad right now that someone would use innocent people. And this happens every day. And I was like, you know what? Not going to stand for it. So I was feeling pretty stupid at this point. I thought, how does everyone else feel when this sort of stuff happens?
Oh, I remember that feeling. Like, I just remember, like, I didn't want to tell anybody. Like, the fact that you got on the phone with me and, like, Mike talked me off the, like, I didn't want to tell anybody, because I just thought people were going to look at me and go, you're stupid.
I didn't want to tell anyone.
Clearly.
I wanted to keep it quiet, and then I went, no, because that's how people like this get away with this stuff, is because everyone feels stupid. And I was a bit the same. I was like, how could it be so dumb? And how do people keep getting caught with this stuff? And then, of course, it leads you to going, can you trust anyone anymore? I just won't trust anyone. And that's also not what we want.
No, like, you've got to be who you are. And like, despite the fact that it happens every day, can we do there's two categories of this, right?
Yeah.
There are the people that are intentionally scamming, like they have premeditated this, but then there's people that are scamming every day and don't even realize they're doing it. Right. And we don't really call them scammers, but they play on the same emotions, the same, like reason the scam works on both sides of this is for the exact same reason. Right. One of the things I got in my journey, and you have to tell me if you kind of feel the same, was I wanted something but didn't value it. And it was like, it's like, anytime I've been in a position, I'm open to a scammer. Like, if I go, I really want that thing, but I don't want to pay for it. Like, anybody who's ever bought a Hugo Boss suit from Thailand knows what I'm talking about here, right? It's like, I want the brand, but I don't value the brand.
Yeah.
Right? And anytime you want something more than you value it, that gap is open to a scam.
Yeah, okay.
Right? It's like, you're not to say you will get scammed, and not to say there isn't a value proposition out there somewhere that's legit and real.
Yeah.
But anytime you're in that position, you are open to being scammed.
Yeah.
Like, somebody can play off your emotions because you desperately want something more than you value it.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're willing to believe in something more, and your belief is actually like me. My belief is what carried me through the, like, I literally had one of those internal, like, red light alarm systems going off.
Right? It's like, like,
oh my God, go.
Yeah.
But it's like my belief that this thing was true for me was what actually carried me through.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is legit for the people that are purposely scamming is they know how to play your identity against you. Right? They know how to tap in on something with you, either through a personal story. And it's like, sharing too much of a personal story with somebody who hasn't kind of earned the right to hear that
Yeah.
story is another clear sign for me now. It's like, if you're really going into an emotive story and we've just met, I know that there's some manipulation at play here.
Yeah.
Now, it could just be manipulation because you want my sympathy, but there is manipulation here,
But in
right?
both
And
of
so
these
if that
cases-
manipulation has a credit card attached to it,
Yeah.
I am very likely to pull back.
Yeah. And in both of these cases, that is what's happened here, where we're getting this information that you wouldn't otherwise get that does pull on emotion, because I guarantee you I would have pushed a lot harder for a lot more information had I not had the cancer story thrown in. And your guy was like sharing his crazy situation with a passerby in the car park.
Yeah. Like honestly, as a stranger, like, why would you tell me that?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's because they know it engages,
Yeah.
right? And they know it kind of taps in, and then throw the odd compliment, throw the odd security measure your way, right? They just, anytime I hear too detailed a story, I know that there's something up.
Yeah.
Especially if the detail has also got a dollar value to it.
Yeah.
Right. And because one thing I remember I was studying when I was doing recruitment. I studied a book by William J. Majesty called The Lie Detection Book. And one of the things with the lie detection book is this guy, William J., he was the chief investigator for the FBI, and he wrote a book on how they tell. And one of the ones was, when people are being honest, because they're being honest, they will actually give you less detail than people. So if somebody's offering you too much detail without you asking for it, they're probably not being honest.
Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah. So that's one of the things, and you probably innately know this. That's one of the things that will turn on the alarm bells with you, is like, why is this person sharing this?
Yeah. So one of the things I will point out, guys, and there's a reason for sharing all of this, and that is, this is becoming, look, it's always been prominent, okay? But it is becoming easier, I believe, for scammers to scam right now, because so much business is being done online in a way that you don't have. Like, I mean, you got scammed in person. That's like another level, because it's a lot harder to do that. Like, that takes a real skill to scam someone in person. It gets done every day.
Or an incredibly gullible person.
For an incredibly gullible person. I mean, I'm sure that if this person with the Dyson Airwrap had been in person, I wouldn't have got done, right? No, I'm just kidding, guys. I am totally being mean here. But look,
I reckon you would have punched her, though. She walked off with it, that Dyson.
I don't think I would have. Look, one of the things I said to Greg goes, look, what is upsetting you the most? Is it the money? Is it the Dyson? Is it what happened? And I really had to grapple with this. I really had to, I said, I think, because I really wanted it. I still really wanted it. I was like, this is so frustrating, because now if I'm going to get it, because I like, my money is gone, but if I'm going to get it, I'm going to now essentially be paying more than I would have paid full price for it anyway, because I have to pay it all over again, even if I get one second hand. By the way, he did tell me yesterday, oh, you'll never believe this, they've just gone down in price. But
is the difference the amount you paid?
It's so what, they're like $800 new, and they're down to $470 or something. So
did you pay $330?
I paid $360. It's not far off.
Yeah.
Anyway, the point is,
Dyson's going to get full price whether you want to or not.
I know.
The girl probably works for them.
So my beautiful dad, I'm telling this story to, and look, there's a. He rocks up to my house a few days later with a Dyson, and he's like, he gives me this Dyson, and he goes, now you don't have to be upset about it anymore. Now, first of all, I was like, I cannot accept that. It was the most beautiful gesture, but I was like, okay, great. I won't be mad about it though anymore if I've got one, right? And so I went to bed that night, and I woke up the next day, and I looked at Greg and I went, I'm still really mad. And he goes, it's not about the Dyson then, is it? I said, nope. And it's not about the money. Nope. I'm mad that people do this to each other, and it gives other people who are doing the right thing a bad name. And it's what frustrates me about, as you identified, so many industries, but in particular, the industry that we're in direct selling, where there are a lot of scammers out there. There are people that have done and continue to do the wrong thing, and it makes it hard to grow a business in a space that is actually a really beautiful, really special industry that does change lives every day. And I was like, I am angry at the fact that people do this, and it actually causes mistrust ongoing for other people. It's the way that people look at each other changes. And I'm like, I wish I could fix it. I know I can't, but I thought, let's just do a series of podcasts on scams where we can kind of talk about this. But I actually we're going to be doing 2 more episodes, by the way, guys, on this. And we're going to be talking about scams in the industry. So we're going to identify the difference between pyramid selling and direct selling. And there is a difference, a big difference. And then
I've just had a thought, Sam,
oh,
because we said we do fireside, right?
yeah.
And we had this conversation, what was it, 2-3 weeks ago? Was it 2-3 weeks
Yeah,
ago?
maybe 3 weeks ago, because I was like, I can't do
Yeah.
this episode yet until I know that this woman definitely scammed me. No.
Yeah, and I remember when we were talking about it, because it was really the first time I kind of made the connection with the coaching industry. And it's like,
Yeah.
what drives me in the
Mhm.
coaching is and I thought, it was almost like I started to get angry about all the people that scam people in my industry, right? And I started getting all fired up again, going, "That's not right. I got to fix it. I got to do it better." And the part that really kind of got me was that my industry is very much a dialogue. It's a human connection. It's like I'm connecting with you. I'm finding out what your challenge is, and I'm helping you solve it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But it's a human thing. Like it's very much like one person giving something of themselves to somebody else, like a gift. And then I thought, it's the classic MJB question, like, where are you the scammer, Mike? I'm like, and my first answer is like, I'm not a scammer. I'm not. I am not. Right. And I was like going through and I was like, you are, because you wouldn't be so hot about this if you weren't.
That's right. Just to clarify for those, for our listeners, because I know what you're talking about right now, but the things that charge you the most are the things that you don't accept about yourself, right? So it's the things you don't love about you. And
now they often look different from how you're charged about them.
Yeah.
And that's how you justify being charged.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, I don't do it that way.
Yeah, right. So
like,
when one of your kids is disrespectful to you and you're getting super angry about it and charged and worked up about it, the question is, where are you disrespectful? Because it's something you don't accept about yourself. You'll be like, I'm not like them. Well, yeah, it's that.
Yeah, you are. You're just not in that way. And that's how you justify that you can be disrespectful and they can't.
So hang on, are you turning this around to be that like you and I are the scammers here?
I am actually saying that because the thought as you were just talking now is
this podcast episode here right now, everybody. That is it.
I've done I've done lots of procrastinating on this because I'm like, I got to come on this answer. I've got to figure this out. And I've done many window shopping trips trying to figure this. Just going like, I got to avoid this. And it just kind of dropped with me right now. I'm like, there is lots in this world where you automate and you're using ChatGPT and you're
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, and I was like, there is a scammer in me, right? There is a person that is not genuinely at the other end of this. And I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying you shouldn't do those things. You absolutely, you can't work 900 hours a week and still be productive to every person in your life, right? But there was a part of me that goes, yeah, you know what, Mike? You do participate in things that are not genuine, right? Like you do. You have a line and a boundary, but you need to recognize this too, that these people are just taking it further than you do.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, and so I have to accept, because what my guy was anyway, is that was a well thought out system.
Yeah.
He had everything there, and I have to appreciate his systemization. I don't appreciate the result and the way and the intention in which he used it on me, but I do have to appreciate he was really, really systemized.
Yeah.
And the lesson I got from him unintentionally is if you look at the way I build things, it's incredibly systemized.
Yes.
I got from him a system,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's like, I got to appreciate him for giving me that lesson, because when I was walking through that parking lot that day, I was chaos. I had no system. at all. I was pure chaos, and I was feeling lost, and I was feeling not good enough, and I was feeling like a fraud, not because I didn't have the potential, but because I had no system. And I went, right now, it's kind of like I'm looking at this guy going, man, you were an angel. And you know what? I've paid for coaches. I paid $300,000 for coaches and seminars in my life, easily. Probably more. We'll just keep that quiet.
Yeah, we won't tell
But
anyone.
probably more,
No.
right? And I'm upset about a guy that charged me $300 for a thing that's made me $1 million.
Yep.
Right? That's actually not a bad deal. I just don't like how I got the lesson.
Yeah. Right, you never do. You know, it's funny
Yeah.
because as you're talking, Mike, one of the things I'm thinking here as well is it's not that it's who you are, it's who you perceive that you are. And one of the things, like just hearing that, like, you know, you talking about how there is a scammer in you. It's not that there's necessarily a scammer as far as scammers are perceived. It's that you feel sometimes like a bit of a scammer. And to be perfectly honest, I think we all do. I know I definitely get that feeling sometimes because, you know, we all ask ourselves the question, am I worth what I'm asking people to pay for me? Am I worth what I, you know, want people to invest with me? And, you know, as you were talking, I just had a little epiphany here, and I don't hide anything. It's all out in the open.
Yeah.
The epiphany I had was this particular scammer. The charge I had with her was the delivery. So it was in the fact that there wasn't a delivery of what was promised. And I know that for me, the fear I've often had is, am I delivering enough? Am I delivering what, you know, I tend to over deliver because I've always got this fear that I'm not giving people enough. And, you know, you and I talk about this often because you get really cranky at me because I give away so much more than what people are paying for. And there's,
now, just to be fair, because you have those people listening to this right now, I love that you give so much, but I honestly do think, and like I would challenge people to even think about this right now, like if they really, because I think sometimes some people see the bill and they just go, the bill is the bill.
yeah.
But I would challenge everybody, like just sitting there, and I'm going to do this for you because I truly believe this, is to go like, look, what would I expect the bill to be on this? Because I reckon, I personally believe, because I've seen it, right? How long have we known each other? I've seen it, and I reckon you're a tenth of the price. And that's your scammer, is the part of you that doesn't value. You remember what you said? You go, maybe she doesn't realize she can get an extra $50 for this.
Yeah.
And you bought into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I think there's a part of you that doesn't realize how much you give and how much you don't value the full price of, like, you want it, you want to give all this stuff, you want to be there for everybody, you want to blah blah blah, but you don't put the full value, just like you wanted the Dyson but you couldn't give the full value of it.
Yeah.
And now she's come along and she's basically forcing you to pay the full value of it.
Yeah, I think this is a really interesting way to look at all of this, and definitely not where I was expecting this to go. This is why I thought this could be a really
It literally just dropped. It dropped for me as well. It's like,
oh my gosh.
God.
So, guys, you've got to appreciate the fact that these podcasts are not scripted, live. You get in, like, my team is going to hear this, by the way, and go, whoa, that's not where she said this was going to go. But look, it is about what are you learning from it, right? And, you know, one thing I learned from this was we can sit back and let these things happen, or I can take a stand on it. And my team sat there and went, you got to be very careful, because if you do take a stand on this, you're going to be putting yourself on the stand, and you're going to be opening yourself up. And I was like, bring it on, because I'm sick of people doing the wrong thing in this space, but I also want to learn what can be learned from it as well.
Yeah. And look, and we are, by having this, we are opening ourselves up to anybody that who has ever perceived we haven't given them the value that we projected to give them. We are opening ourselves up. I'd be very, very, very shocked if there isn't at least one. I'm not encouraging people. Don't get me wrong,
suddenly we get this barrage of emails. Actually, that was me.
But
my email is Mike at Elevate Right. Yeah.
So I think, this is a Wayne Dyer comment. I remember hearing him say it once. He goes, "There's a million opinions of you out there. Some are good, some are bad. Most have no opinion of you whatsoever.
Yeah.
So they're neutral. They're kind of like, yeah, I know who that person is, but they have neither way." He goes, "Look, we get so locked up on what somebody thinks of us that really there's only one opinion that matters at the end of the day. There's only one, right? And it's the one you have of yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And so we have an opinion when you get scammed, right? We all have an opinion. I think we all know what that is. That is a bad person,
Mm-hmm.
right? But as soon as you make that judgment that that person is bad, they're doing something really bad,
Yeah.
it flips back on you, right? And it's suddenly, I'm a gullible person. Like, how did I fall for that?
Yeah.
Right? And it comes back, and that's the one. It's like, will it happen? Will it continue to happen? Yeah. And because it plays on people's emotions, it plays on their lack of value to perceived, right? That's what we're playing on.
Yeah.
Is they're taking advantage of something you don't think you deserve.
Yeah.
Basically, right? Because otherwise, I'd have got it from Meyer long before I ever saw that guy.
Yeah, 100%.
I'd have walked up to him in the Armani suit, right? So that's how they got me.
Yeah.
I am going somewhere with this, by the way. So that's how it works. Yeah. So that's how it kind of gets in. But if I'd had a strong opinion of myself, and so even though that this happened to me, and this is the penny that's kind of dropped and allowed me to move on with my life, is that at the end of the day, I can't change him or how he perceives the world or what he does. I can't change the other people I've never even met that are possibly doing this. I can't change all the people unintentionally doing it, meaning they're making a promise to somebody but not delivering on it. I can change my reactions to how I let that handle me.
Yeah.
If I go in and go, okay, you know what? If the rest of the world does this, then I will too, because it doesn't matter, then I change who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I will have a bad opinion of myself. And ultimately, that's the one I have to live with, right? So I can move on. I created a few boundaries and a few rules that says, basically, if I can't afford two of the thing I want, I'm not buying it.
I love that. I just want to come back to that for a sec, because you told me this and I was like, oh my goodness, that's brilliant. Just repeat that. What was the conclusion you came to?
That if I couldn't afford two because that's what I felt like I lost, was everything I had. And I said, so if I can't afford two of the thing I want, then I don't want it. And something crazy happened, Sam. All the things I thought I wanted, by the time I could afford two of them, I didn't want them.
You didn't want them anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting how that works. I've actually got two things I just want to speak into really quickly on this. And by the way, I love that philosophy, and I'm going to adopt that. I'm going to steal that from you, because I think that's really powerful, and it is really true. Sometimes we want things, particularly people who are like you and I, where we're like procrastinating to shop. You tend to do a lot of buying things. What's the word I'm looking for? Like impromptu buying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like impulse buying.
Impulse buying. Thank you. Yeah,
and you tend to buy things that raise your internal value.
Yeah, but then
right?
you
you
get
tend
it,
to buy
and
things that give you a status.
Like within an hour, you're like, oh, it's gone. I don't feel good anymore. It's gone.
Yeah. Or it never even came. You're like you walk backward. Like I said, I walk out of the shop and I go back to that same feeling of I'm inadequate. I'm not good enough. I'm a fraud. Yeah.
But I want to speak into something here, and this is I'm going to make a little commitment to me today, because this has bothered me for a really long time. Well, for 6 weeks, which is a really long time in the scheme of things. I said to myself the day after this happened, where energy goes, energy flows. And I don't want to give this woman any more energy than what she deserves. And I have struggled with that. Guys, you've heard me talk about that on this podcast so many times, but because I had this sense of justice in me that was like, I'm so angry about her doing this to people. I'm angry that she pulled on my emotions. I'm angry that she fooled me. I'm angry that she's probably got rid of that Facebook profile, set another one up somewhere. She's doing it to someone else right now. And I went, I need to stop putting my energy in this space. So on one hand, today is my line in the sand. Like, we're recording this episode because I want to talk to you guys about scams. We're going to do 2 more episodes, which I'll explain to you in a little moment, because I know that this is such a common thing. And I know that if Mike, you and I are battling with this, probably many of our listeners are also have either been burned or they're currently going through a feeling of mistrust or frustration because of people doing the wrong thing in this space. The other thing I do want to say with this too is I just want to send some love out there to all of the scammers of the world, because, Mike, there's a reason they're doing it. And we all, like you identified, and I think this was a bit of a mic drop moment for me today, we all have a little scammer within us. Okay. And we all feel like we have done the wrong thing at some point, or we perceive that maybe we're not good enough, or we're not worth what we say we're worth, or whatever it is, whatever that is for you. I know that, we've got these same feelings. We've just identified live with you guys on this podcast today. But I want to send some love out there, because I know that those people that have scammed us are doing it because they feel that they don't have any other option, or they feel it's the best option to get the outcome that they're looking for. Greg, I don't know if we told you this story, and I'm sure this one will come out in the wash, and Greg really wanted to come on here to share this. But we actually had our business page scammed. It must have been about a year ago now, where somebody set up a fake Oxano business page and then were contacting people that were on our real business page, and trying to get them into a messenger chat to then scam them, having them thinking that it was us. Now, The good thing is that we've got contact with Facebook, so we were able to get on top of this fast, and we did. But we also, Greg, in true Greg form, got in contact with the scammer, and he said, if you contact me back and we have a chat, I'm going to make you famous. I'm going to do an interview with you live, and I want you to tell people how you do what you do. He said, and he said, I'll pay you for the interview. This guy gets on a messenger chat, a live messenger chat with Greg, and Greg is talking face to face with this guy. He's in South Africa, and so he's chatting with this guy live. And Zara, our daughter, is in the room listening and videoing this conversation. And Greg gets off the call, and this was the bit that got me. This guy had done the wrong thing. He was telling Greg about all the other people he was doing this to, and how he was trained, and he was part of a big group of people that were all trained to do this. And we all know that there's these people out there, right? And you can be mad about it, but get this. Greg asks him questions about why he was doing it. The guy reluctantly eventually tells Greg about his life story and his situation and why he feels he has no other option. He gets off this call, and Greg is like gunned up, ready to, let's do a live, let's, expose these people to the world. And Zara is sitting there almost in tears going, please don't expose this guy, Dad. I really feel sorry for him, and I want you to help him figure out a better way to do things. And so Greg ends up doing some other business with this guy through our business, using the skills he has, because obviously he's brilliant at technology because of what he does. So Greg uses those skills and pays him to do some other work to get him away from doing what he was doing. The bottom line of all of this is, these situations happen every day, but people feel trapped, or they feel like they're not better than what they are. And I just want to send some love out there and say, I'm not justifying what you're doing. And if my scammer right now is listening to this podcast episode, you are better than this. Please know that you are better than this. And it's your self-worth that you're battling with right now. And I want you to know, and all of you guys to know, that there is so much more for you than what you're currently doing. And I'm sure you've probably got an even better message than that, Mike.
No, it's along those lines. Like you said, where energy goes, energy flows, right? That same energy can be put into making sure either the people that are getting scammed have an option of something that has extreme value that really does get them the Dyson that they're looking for, or it can go into creating a situation where the person doing the scamming doesn't feel like that's their only resort. Because I think, you know, I questioned it for a while. I questioned my belief that 99.9999999% of people are really good people.
Mm,
And I did come to the conclusion that they are, but that doesn't mean really good people don't do horribly bad things.
yeah.
I know that's true of myself. Like, I have moments of my life that I'm not proud of at all. That didn't make me a bad person. That just put me mean I did a bad thing,
Mm,
right? Um, it's another quote that we can kind of finish on, but it's like the snake that bites you never dies of its own poison.
yeah.
And the snake that bites you isn't an evil person, it's just a snake,
Mm-hmm.
right? So being angry at the snake for the poison isn't going to get rid of the bite. It's
Yeah.
not going to. And and the snake doesn't think it's done anything wrong. Usually the snake bit you because it was scared. Usually the snake bit you because it was trying to protect itself. It was trying to take care of itself.
Mm-hmm.
Something you would do as well. You just do it in a different way. And when you can see it in that way and just let it go,
Yeah.
by the way, avoid the snake because it will bite you.
Oh, we're
Like,
going to
find a
help you
way to
guys.
avoid the snake.
We're going to help you
Yeah,
guys
yeah.
recognize snakes a little bit better over this series. But
Yeah, we're not going to be like, oh, come on, Sammy Slithers, come up and give my
yeah,
pillow.
yeah.
You can yank, So we want to avoid the snake, but being angry at the snake and judging the snake, and it's just that's not where you want your energy to
Yeah.
go. Like we to this, like from a very practical sense, we can take one or two lessons from our stories. Either find a way to give people of high value something at the value they're willing to pay, and just find a way to do it so the scammer can't take advantage of it,
Yeah.
or find a way to help the person that feels like they have no choice but to take advantage of other people. Find a way that that still gets them what they need, but creates value for other people.
Yeah.
And if we can do that, we won't change the world, but we can change it one thing at a time. And I love the story of the kid on the beach with the starfish. Have you heard that story? It's a
Uh,
very classic personal development where this man's walking along the beach and he sees a kid, and the kid's throwing starfish. And as he looks at the beach is literally
yeah.
covered in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of starfish.
Yeah.
And with every wave that comes in, there's another 50 to 100 starfish that line up on the shore. And this kid's picking up one at a time and chucking it into the water. And the old man goes, "You'll never make a difference. You'll never, why? Why are you doing this? You'll never make a difference." He goes, "Can't you see that every wave that comes in is putting so many starfish on the thing?" And the kid picks up the starfish, chucks it in the water. He goes, "I just made a difference for that one."
Yeah. I
And I
love that.
love that story
Yeah.
because it's just literally, you don't have to change the world. You just got to change the moment.
Yeah.
If you do that enough, you just might change the world.
Yep.
So, it's kind of how I always like to finish in terms of any advice, if you call it advice or a secret sauce, which there isn't. But if there is one, that's it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love that. I think that's such a perfect way to end this. And I just want to remind you guys that if you have, ever been scammed, learn from it. I think that was the biggest thing that you said to me, Mike, was not learn from it in, outwardly, what do you need to necessarily do differently? Yes, there are always things that we can do differently. But the thing is that, if we're always coming from that perspective, we'll always be looking for the fault in people. We'll always be looking for the negative. We'll always be mistrusting. But it's what can I learn from it within me? Because when you said that to me initially back a few weeks ago, I just went, ooh, what is this showing me? And I think there's so much more in that. But like we both said as well, where energy goes, energy flows. Be careful how much energy you're giving to the situation as well. So I want to thank you for joining me, Mike. This has been so great chatting with you again. And I'm so glad that you got to tell the world about your scam story. That must feel very healing.
Oh, yeah, great. It feels amazing.
He didn't want to share that story, guys. I know. I was like, if I'm going to do it, you're going to do it. We're both going to do this, okay? I appreciate you trusting me. No one will listen to this. Don't worry. I'm going to keep this recording close to my
No one will listen to it. No one will listen to it. You know what? That sounds like a scam to me.
Now, guys, we are going to follow this up with 2 more episodes. We're going to be talking about the scams in the direct selling industry, the difference between pyramid selling and direct selling. For me, it's a big part of what has labeled so much of this industry as a scam industry. So we're going to be talking openly about this. And then we're going to be doing another one talking about scams in general and how to avoid them. So we're going to give you some strategies and steps and things to do and look out for. What's current, what's going on out there right now, what do you need to be careful of, and how do you look after yourself so you don't end up like a Sam or a Mike in this situation. But guys, thank you so much again for tuning in. And Mike, thank you so much for joining me and being so open and honest.
I really did enjoy this. It was a fun one to do.
Well, it was very real chat, that's for sure. And I don't know how much of what I've said today my team are going to go, are you kidding? Did you really just say that? So
yeah, I can imagine your team just sitting there like,
what?
Frank, we're calling the lawyer. Frank, we're calling the lawyer.
I will say, I said to Mike before I got on here, I need to be very careful. There's a fine line between talking about this situation and ending up in like some kind of a lawsuit. So I think we're okay. But, you know,
now that you made the commitment that you're not going to show this to anybody.
We're good. Yeah, we're good. We're totally good.
Yeah.
So if you happen to be listening to this now, count yourself really special because you're all alone.
And just know that you're not supposed to be listening to this.
Yeah, it's top secret stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you again so much, Mike. So great to have you on here. And to everybody else out there, make sure you tune in next week. It's going to be a very interesting episode, and we'll see you on the podcast again then. Bye for now, everyone. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. If you love listening and you found that this was helpful for your direct selling business, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also check out the recommended video that's popped up on your screen right here. I look forward to seeing you again next time. Bye for now.